I think how I got hired for Candyman was obviously through Clive, but the first thing I actually remembered, I was actually shooting a film here in North Carolina, shooting Hellraiser 3.
I remember flying directly from Hellraiser 3 on the east coast of America over to LA with Bob's brother Dave Keane, and me and Dave and Bob pretty much serviced everything on set on Candyman.
Because Candyman went immediately, Bob Keane and Mark Coulier, the makeup artists who worked on it as well, they straight away went down to Los Angeles, and I was basically left in charge of building the effects for the film.
I remember being in a production meeting and they were talking about the toilet sequence that's in the film, and they were saying, oh well, we want shit and stuff on the walls, and you know, and I sort of piped up stupidly and said, oh, I know how to make that. We made all this sort of excrement and stuff speared on the walls out of biscuits, chocolate biscuits and digestive biscuits and ginger biscuits, and we'd make up different poops, and then we'd go around painting the set.
You were not content with the stories, so I was obliged to come.
Regarding the hook that Tony has, originally it was going to be, I think he was going to be severed either at the shoulder or at the elbow, and we couldn't fit the rig in with the size of Tony's arm, so it was decided to change to the wrist. The hand had been chopped off.
And we tried to purchase one of these hooks, but we realised we were going to have it made because there was different things that we were going to need it to do. So we asked a blacksmith.
And sure enough, there was this guy and his son who got a small little blacksmith company with a forge and the bellows and everything. And I gave him the design and I said, can you make this for me? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I said, so I got, it's for this horror film, I'm going to mold it and put some blood tubing in it, all that kind of stuff. And he was like, oh, okay. And he said, like 3 days and like £30 it'll cost. And I was like, fantastic.
And he made us the most amazing hook we've ever seen. But when we came to pick it up, as you do, I think he said, well, what's this for? And we said, well, it's for a horror film, right, called Candyman by Clive Barker, who did Hellraiser. I'm thinking the normal process of everyone going, ooh, that would be great. And he took the hook, put it in a drawer and went, you're not having it.
He said, yeah, because me and my son, we love the good Lord Jesus. The Lord is in our hearts. And I was like, excuse me?
He says, no, he said, you're Satan's spawn, basically, and told us where to get off. So we ended up having to go away and remake it again.
I don't know what he did with it afterwards. Maybe hung flowers on it or something. But I had to go back and back and pull out a giant piece of metal and kind of hammer it into submission and bend it and forge it. So there was a lot of anger and venom in that hook when I had to kind of make it by hand.
But the hook itself was actually made many times. There was a practical hook that was used for scraping and scratching, but there were rubber hooks, there were fiberglass hooks, there were hook rigs. They would be cut off in different ways. So we had like half a dozen to a dozen different hooks that would actually fill out all the different requirements of what the Candyman had to do.
Our names will be written on 1,000 walls, our crimes told and retold by our faithful believers. We shall die together in front of their very eyes and give them something to be haunted by. Come with me and be immortal.
When we started off, there was a couple of really major effects, right? One was going to be where he revealed his chest, and it had to have this decayed layered skin underneath it.
And it was traditional materials. It was foam latex this was before silicons. The ribs themselves were a rigid material, like a plastic.
And it had a really elaborate dressing on it. It also had lungs underneath, which you don't see in the film, but could inflate and deflate.
But the trick there was to make it so it didn't look like it was sticking out too far. But I think the guys who were working on it, in the shop, luckily they'd got some great experience from doing Frank in Hellraiser. So that lent itself to it.
And then the whole, chest area was again covered in bees. So I think they smeared some sweet syrup on them.
But we found out that the bees that were ending in there, that's the best way to get stung with a bee, is to trap the bee in between something. If they get stuck under your arm or they get in between your collar. So having bellows that went in and out with thousands of bees inside turned out to be a really bad idea.
It was nice to have the time to do it properly, to have the guys to do it correctly, and then knowing that Mark and Dave were going to take care of it on set. So when we actually saw it in the film, it was like, wow, it's a nice looking effect, you know. And it didn't look too bulky on Tony's front either.
And in that sequence, he leans over to Virginia Madsen, who's lying on an altar or a slab, and he goes down to kiss her, and he opens his mouth, and all these bees come out of his mouth. Really particularly horrible thing in the film, and it looks fantastic. And I had to build a little dental plate for Tony, so I built some dentures that fit top and bottom. I sculpted the interior of the mouth. I had thin latex sheets that would grip to the side of his cheeks with the saliva that's in the mouth. And I'd done a test, and then we actually had to put live bees in his mouth. And Tony was so cool about the whole thing. There was one time we did one take, and Tony said that I think he has to deliver some lines, or he has to just do this action, but he said he could feel one of the bees had got behind the sheet of latex that I put in the mouth, and he could feel it crawling towards the back of his throat as he was delivering the take. And then when they cut, we just got everything out there, and he was spitting bees out, and yeah, it was pretty intense. Yeah. You know, I was talking to someone a while ago about all the films that you've done in your career, you know, and I've got a tick list and a cross list, and Candyman is definitely there on the tick list of films that I'm sort of proud to have worked on.
And I had one of those warm, fuzzy feelings about this film, and I still have that warm, fuzzy feeling about it. It was a wonderfully fun, artistic experience that I was so happy that I got to be involved with.